Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Wednesday, or Thursday, excuse me. Don't want to go backwards in this week, right? October 10th, 2024, 10:33 a.m. here local time in California. Latest activity here on the globe shows a 2.6 there across the Mediterranean and a 1.1 into the area of Alaska. We'll get to this here in just a minute. Want to chat about the G4 storming conditions stirring up right now. Goodness, are they getting a treat across the area of look like Russia area, Europe, getting into Iceland right now. Big time solar storming kicking up, as you can see here on the aurora forecast. Now this is due to the arrival of the forecasted CME a little early here, but we got to watch this over the next 24 hours or so, and later tonight for us here on the North American side of the planet, we could see some extreme solar conditions persisting through the evening there with auroras, I'm sure, quite low on the horizon or on the latitude scale here. Right now, definitely stirring up out there. Again, KP index right around the, this is an older one here, but I think we're into, one second here, turn that off. I think we're into the KP index of up around the, let's see, where's the good one at? I guess up around the 8 range here. This one's a little old in terms of the status. All right, either way, yeah, pretty obvious here. We got a major CME impacting the planet as forecasted. G4 storming conditions being observed, and that is continued to going to be the case here later this evening as well. Maybe even higher. Going to have to watch this. So this is for tonight's forecast here. The aurora view line down into southern Oregon. Looks like northern Kansas area, Ohio included. Now, these could be a little bit lower as far as this view line goes. So we're going to have to watch this tonight. And it looks as though on the BZ component, it looks like we're allowing a lot of amplification on the with the auroras. So the real-time solar wind stream, let's take a look at this here real quick. Well, a little bit of fluctuation here between north point and south on the BZ component. When these little run dots here are below this line here, that's southward pointing BZ component of the interplanetary magnetic field, that allows further escalation of the auroras. So if this sustains at that level south here for a little while, or maybe even extends further south, we could be talking about G5 storming conditions, the highest category later this evening for the for us here on the North American side, where it's currently light, right? We got the sun out there, but for the folks out there that are probably not sleeping right now, they probably got a beautiful show out there across the regions, pending they have clear skies over on the opposite side of me. So tonight I'll be out and about looking, see if I can observe the auroras here from Northern California. I seen them back in May. Pretty spectacular. Those were G5 storming conditions, and we're potentially could reach that threshold again tonight just by looking at what's going on here with the current solar wind stream. So let me bring this back up here. There's the arrival of the CME a few hours ago. So here's a density chart. Elevated speed up around the 800 range. So that's considerably significant for auroras. And you got the density, temperature elevated, and the southward pointing BZ component. So that's good news there for tonight's auroras. So we'll have to get outside if we have clear skies here. And I would suggest as well, if you guys are out there and interested in seeing the northern lights here, tonight would be the night to see it. Don't miss it, just in case you missed out back in May when we had those broad auroras all over the place there. Beautiful pinks. I remember them very well. These curtains of pink just coming into Northern California. Absolutely stunning. Get out there tonight if you missed those last May. We're also being bombarded here continuously with high elevated proton density. And that was prior to the arrival of the CME. But goodness, getting quite elevated out here. So along with that, the incoming CME, things should be fairly interesting here over the next 24 hours. And I'd like to watch stuff like this as well in relation to earthquake activity, whether we see elevated earthquake activity following an arrival of a very large super solar storm here. Not super, but solar storm here. So we're getting bombarded with protons, got slammed with the CME, numerous X flares. Are we getting any elevated earthquake activity? I'm going to check that out here in just a second. Let's check out the flaring here real quick. 40% elevated chance here of another significant X flare. Now, over the past 24 hours or so, just minimal M flare activity. There was a near X flare yesterday, but we're crackling a little bit here with some M flare activity. A number of sunspots out here to watch. Let's see what we got here for 3848. That was the source of the Earth-directed X flare and subsequent CME activity here. Are we still live? We are, but looks like a little fluctuation going on there with my KBs for some reason. Hopefully they're not trying to bring me down. It never fails. Always seems to do. It seems when I'm doing an update or super early in the morning. 3:33 in the morning for some reason. Watching this area here, this is a region that produced the Earth-directed X flare and subsequent CME. A little bit of complexity along this area as well. A couple different sunspots, and back around the eastern limb here, there's looks like maybe another sunspot or two coming around, and we'll watch those right now. And I think the main focus is going to be on 3848. It looks like it's going to be a beta gamma delta structure, although stable, still harbors the potential for some X flare activity, as you can see right there. Not for sure when this image was. Data signed back in 10.2. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on it. Let's see if all this activity here has affected anything earthquake related. Now, over the past couple days, we've been dealing with somewhat of an elevated increase here across Alaska. Let's see what we got for the last 24 hours of largest magnitude, 5.4. We can find a 5-pointer out here on any given day, regardless of space weather activity. That's the latest earthquake of moderate magnitude so far today. That's down across the southeast Indian Ridge on a little fracture zone there, spreading seafloor center out there on the bottom there towards the Antarctica area. Aside from that, I'm not seeing any major elevated activity out here right now following all this bombardment of protons and the impact from the CME. Nothing of elevated activity. No major movement across Southern California right now. In fact, nothing really in the last hour. 2.5 map and above for California. Well, not seeing a whole lot. Got a 2.6 down here today outside of Death Valley. But aside from that, very small microquake activity out here. No major swarms. There's 2.2 from yesterday. So I'm really surprised there. You know, I like to pay attention to these solar events and put together, you know, whether the theory of space weather causes earthquakes or not. You know, I'm not saying it may not contribute to some earthquake activity. We've seen it in the past, but back in May when we got slammed with the elevated solar storms there, earthquake activity was very minimal at best. Right now, very minimal. I'm not seeing any elevated earthquake activity out here due to the CME or the elevated protons. You know, anyone could say, well, it's going to take a couple weeks for it to take effect. That's doesn't make sense, right? You can't say that. That's like saying California, yeah, it's going to have an earthquake in the next 30 years. It's common sense. Any earthquake activity can occur at any given day, regardless of space weather activity. So right now, we'll watch this over the next 24 hours here. If we don't get anything in terms of earthquake activity following this large event, well, you know, it's looking more and more likely that immediate space weather events, or space weather events in general here, large impacts to the planet do not affect the plate tectonics out here immediately. You know, but again, there's probably only a period of time that we should watch following the arrival of such impact. and it shouldn't extend months down the road because that's pointless to try and prove something. If it's going to have an impact, it's going to happen, if not immediately, or if not within the following hours of the arrival of a space weather event. So I'm just kind of keeping track of it. Let's see, that's swarming up here northern Alaska. A lot of this here from yesterday. A couple more twos this morning, but that really looks like it may be calming down a little bit. No major earthquake activity here across Alaska for now. There is an area I'm watching, though, and not due to the space weather activity, but in general because of the plate tectonics here showing quite a bit of somewhat elevated earthquake activity in the microquake department extending into a fashion way north here. That's due to a subduction zone here, the Pacific plate, the North American plate boundary. This area has not seen any major earthquake activity in a little while. This segment right here. Now, I know back in 2021 we had an 8-pointer. I think it was a little bit further back over here. But specifically this segment, got to watch this. It looks like it may be might be having some larger earthquake activity on it. And I say that because of the elevated activity inland here away from the plate boundary. And that's got to be producing some strain here on this segment. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Washington area, Pacific Northwest, nothing major going on here. One earthquake out in the Blanco fracture zone early, just after midnight here my time, a little 3.0. Nothing major going on out here across the country for now. Kansas, it looks like Kansas maybe has one of the larger earthquakes out here across the west coast. With a 3.5 earthquake, beating even California in terms of the magnitude for now. That's out there outside the Salina area, outside of Harrington. Let's see what's out there. A lot of beautiful farmland out there. I do love Kansas, but I don't see anything of specifics out there in terms of any oil pumping operations or whatnot. So, just an occasional earthquake out there, it looks like, is what they sometimes get. More so towards the Oklahoma area, but hey, Kansas, it comes and goes. Let's see what we got the last 30 days. A couple earthquakes there in Kansas. Few, at least one more around today's event, little 2.7 Cedar Point area back in September, and a couple more down here outside of Wichita in the last 30 days. So, New Zealand area, see what's going on down here. Mostly older earthquake activity from yesterday. There's those threes and some earthquake activity along the Kermadec Trench, again from yesterday. No newer activity to report there. Most of the newer activity down here across southern end of the globe, and looks like Taiwan area southward into the Philippines area. Middle America Trench showing some typical movements out here in the 3 range. Same for the Peru Chile Trench here, 3s and a couple 4s in there. Nothing major going on out here across the Atlantic, but down here, it's definitely obvious we got a little bit of adjustment taking place here at the bottom of the globe, and that both of those are in the divergent boundary seafloor spreading centers out there, so that should amplify conditions across this area of the globe here. I'm gonna have to watch that. 4.5 coming in, fairly recent earthquake. Let's see where that's at. 4.5 off the coast here of Algeria. Somewhat of a moderate earthquake out there, but I think we do get earthquakes in general on occasion out here, it looks like. If we look at the legend here, 1900 to 2015 shows quite a bit of earthquake activity out here in this area. So, although we don't see it all that often there. What else we got here? Pretty quiet in the Atlantic, goodness. Not too much earthquake activity going on. Let's see what's going on with the Hurricane Milton. I know some damage being reported out there. This is going to be post-tropical cyclone here. Go back over to this one. Still shows 75 mile per hour sustained winds here, so that would still be a Category 1. Moving off to the east-northwest, east-northeast there at 21 miles per hour. So that is hightailing it out of here. It will be a tropical storm, then the depression further out and about as we head towards the weekend. But did leave behind some damage, some storm surge and whatnot. I've seen a little bit of damage photos and some freeways out there inundated with some water, some storm surge water. But, this hit the area as a Category 3, and it could have been worse. It had the potential to be worse here. So, fortunately, it fizzled out some. Obviously, a Category 3 is still a major hurricane, but it could have been a lot worse. So, got to move on and recover from that. Looking at some models here do show. Let's go ahead and run this model. There's our current tropical system heading out of here. As these models head towards the weekend and early next week. See, there's another tropical system down there in the Gulf of Mexico. And last night's model showed it kind of spinning a little bit closer to Florida. This model showing a little bit further west. But the consistency here is that these models are picking up on some type of tropical system, again, in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, wherever this goes, this is way too far out to pick up on accuracy. Again, though, models are an important thing to watch because they are forecasting some type of tropical system out here, again, in the Gulf of Mexico. As we get closer to this time period, it looks like maybe right about the next Friday or so, it should have some type of formation down here. Then we can maybe get a little bit better clue on where this is headed. But we'll continue to check back on it. That's something these guys don't need, right? But it's showing it. Again, some type of tropical system out here in the Gulf of Mexico. Where it's going to go, we'll know as we get closer. California here, we got some cooler weather coming in, maybe some sprinkles and whatnot. And, I'm just happy with the cooler weather. I think it's supposed to be about 89 degrees today. That is a lot better than 104 in October. So I'll take 89 over 104 any day, and it's supposed to cool back down a little bit even cooler. So let's check out the assemble models here. Shows where the high pressure and low pressure patterns are. Let's go back to the 10th right about today. Average temperatures out here. No, 89 degrees average. I want to live somewhere where 89 degrees is a warm, hot day. Or just a hot day in general. There's our low pressure system out here in Northern California, bringing this cooler weather, chance of showers. And then after that, we got Clipper. Look at that cold weather heading out to the east. Got some well below normal temperatures there. Little taste of winter setting in for the folks out there across that area of the country. And after that, looks like our turn to cool down a little bit. Not going to see any frigid temperatures, but below average it looks like for the West Coast. And then, we're getting some pattern changes out here. That's for sure. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, as we head towards, the wintertime months, things start to really mix up a lot in the weather patterns, and we get these troughs and ridges and whatnot. The good thing is that they don't stay in one position for too long, because high pressure in one area, we've dealt with that all summer out here in California, and including so far all of October except for today. We've had a lot of heat out here in Northern California, but the patterns are changing, and that is good news. All right, so don't forget here, folks. Goodness, look at that. Aurora is really ramping up here across the area. Australia, New Zealand, it's getting light out there. Looks like early morning time out there across New Zealand, Australia. I'm not for sure how far you can see this in Australia if you're down there. But, I guess they can at times when it really gets going. But, yeah, as this is staying fairly steady in intensity. I think tonight's going to be an interesting night for auroras out here across the North American area. Looks like Iceland already getting into some there. Let me see what we got for the Iceland live. It would help. Live from Iceland. There we go. Let's see what we have out there. It's still, well, yeah, it's still a little light. I wouldn't doubt it though if some of that greenery out there is because of the auroras, but yeah, it's still somewhat light. Looking towards Grindavik here. Some vehicles out there, looks like. Clouds moving out and about. So, yeah, anyway, well, that's going to be an interesting event here tonight, folks. So get outside if you can see it. Major storm for the sub-auroral aurora. Everyone's got a decent chance of seeing it tonight, folks. We'll catch you guys out here a little bit later on this evening. And, of course, if I catch some awesome auroras, I'll share it myself out here on the YouTube channel. And if you feel like sharing some images as well, feel free to send them to earthmastermail@gmail.com. I've gotten a couple here from the previous night's auroras. I'm going to put them all into a little compilation video here. And I'd appreciate it if you guys got any photos you want to share. Because tonight is the night. Looking pretty fancy here. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on, folks. Enjoy your Thursday and stay safe out there.